Hey, welcome, Mental Health Warriors. I'm super excited about today. We're starting season 2 of the Mental Health Warrior. We're kicking it off with Real Talk Thursday. And so I got a great subject that I came up to talk about. But before I get into that, because it is Real Talk Thursday, I thought it was appropriate that I would wear my Quit Being a Triggered Pansy shirt because you're going to need it tonight. But please, you can go out to our website, check out all of our merch at veteranstrashtalk.com. You can use the promo code CB2022 to save 10% on your own order. They also do have the super cool, Mental Health Warrior Veterans Trash Talk t-shirt out there. It's a t-shirt that I always say that can save a life because you never know when somebody's in crisis. December can be a rough month for a lot of people. It's a very emotional month for me, as you guys know. But I'm super excited about starting season 2. It's about a week earlier. Last year, I started on the day that I attempted suicide on December 22nd. But this year, I wanted to start season 2 a little bit early because I wanted to talk about a subject that, since we're here on Real Talk, that really has affected a lot of us, and it's affected me. And I think that's really one of the reasons that we have issues and problems going on. And I may be incorrect, but I think I got onto something here when I was thinking about this. So the topic I want to talk about for my first episode of Real Talk is pain, and not physical pain, because physical pain, we know your mind and body can adapt to that. And it's quite well at that. Anybody in the military or a veteran or a soldier can tell you, we learn to adapt to physical pain. You can take medication for it. You can do this, that, the other, but your mind is equipped, go back to archaeological times, back when we were cavemen, that you can deal with pain. That's not the pain I'm going to talk about. The pain I'm going to talk about is mental pain. It's the pain that drives you to do things that you normally wouldn't do. Okay, Cliff, we'll talk. What are you talking about? When you have PTSD like I do, and you're dealing with those demons and those thoughts and those things, you don't want to think about that no more. So what did I do to compensate for that? Right? Well, Cliff compensated by drinking more, drinking a lot. That eventually led up to my suicide attempt. That's how I was dealing with my mental pain, which wasn't the right thing to do. A lot of people deal with their mental pain in other ways. They deal with it by taking drugs. They deal with it by, being in, destructive behavior. I had a good friend of mine, Tom Campbell, that was on, the Mental Health Warrior. He's been on twice. And he talked about that, he was a sniper and everything. And, he lost his spotter. And he talked about, he was going to deal with his pain through drinking, much like I did, but also he's going to deal with it by driving his motorcycle, off of a cliff off the side of a road. And he actually had planned that, and had his wife not called him and stopped that motion, she wasn't his wife at the time, he wouldn't be here today. Just as the same as my brother, who, God bless him, wouldn't have found me that night at his house. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. But I really think when you have that type of pain and it starts to consume your life, that is a very hard, vicious circle to get through. Whether you're dealing with childhood trauma, I had Rachel come on, and I had, Linda Diaz come on. He started Lauren's Law after her daughter completed suicide. That's something different. That's not childhood trauma, but that's just trauma of losing your child. But when you're dealing with trauma, and whatever that trauma is, and it creates that pain that consumes your life, right? You constantly think about it. You have anxiety over it. Certain things happen that makes you not want to remember it, not makes you go down that path. And so the reason I wanted to talk about the mental pain, it's something that I've had to deal with for a very long time. I would like to say that I have good days, and I would say that I have some really bad days. And as silly and as stupid things sound, sometimes I get really bad anxiety over the stupidest things, right? So I wear an iWatch. Why do I wear an iWatch? Well, one, for our workout, it tracks my heart rate. Well, why do I track my heart rate? Well, I track my heart rate because I used to train, and I would get my heart beating so fast, over 200 beats per minute, that my pacemaker would reset my heart itself, and I would feel the flutter. And so I went to a cardiologist, and he said, well, for one, he told me to stop it because sometimes it may set and I can give myself a heart attack. But he said, you got a very efficient heart, right? And so you need to wear some type of a heart monitor and then keep your heart rate between a certain amount when you're working out hard. And so I had a Fitbit for a long time, but kept wearing those out. And then I switched to the iWatch. Why am I telling you this story? After I retired from the military and I'm home a lot by myself, and a lot of times the only person I talk to is my 8-year-old son, if I'm not doing the podcast or anything like that, my mind starts to wander. And then something will cue me in. And for me, it's random, right? Because my ADHD from my TBI, it kind of just makes things crazy for me. But I have a normal resting heart rate. If I'm 52 years old, so my normal resting heart rate's usually between 55 and 58 normally. If something happens and my heart rate, let's say, is 65 that day, for whatever reason, right? It will set me into a tizzy thinking something's wrong with me. And because I've dealt with pain in my back, which when it acts up, I get strange sensations across my chest. Well, I get Botox for that, and then Botox helps a lot. Actually, yoga has helped a lot too. But when I get those, that sets my anxiety off the roof. And if somebody has similar things, they know what I'm talking about. That anxiety and that pain can last for days. And it can be to the point where I don't sleep. It can be to the point that I'm miserable during the day after Lloyd goes to school. And it just completely physically exhausts me when that happens. And so I have to learn ways to try to control that anxiety when it hits, especially when my Botox is wearing off and the pain starts coming back in my back and I start having the numbness, the tingling. I get numbness that goes up the back of my neck. It comes into my face. And then I have to tell myself that it's not something else going on in my body. But your mind's a very powerful weapon, right? It can help you adapt to a lot of things. It can also put you into a closet that you don't want to come back out of. So one of the things that I started doing, and the only reason I'm only talking about it is because I've been now using the app for 30 days. And I had a lady on my show, and it's called Ear Kick. It's only available for iPhones right now. It'll be available for Android soon. But Ear Kick is a mental health app. And on that app, you can text your daily diary. You can use emojis. You can do anything, and it tracks you. But one very interesting thing this app has, and I'd never used it before. My anxiety was horrible the other day. It was a guy talking about, and he came on, and it said for anxiety, and you click on the video. It's about a 7-minute video. And you can go out to earkick.com if you don't have an Android or you don't want to download the app, and you can set up an account and watch this video if you have a lot of anxiety. And so what he talked about on the video is it's just thoughts. Thoughts generally do not hurt you physically. And so you have to learn how to control the thoughts. So throughout this video, he talks about a train, and a train whizzes in and out of a tunnel, but you're the conductor. And so you're sitting up there watching all these trains zoom in and out of the conductor. Now think about that as being your thoughts, and make those thoughts fleeting. The train comes in and the train leaves. And when the train leaves, you allow that thought or that anxiety to go away. And while he's doing this video, he's having you do breathing exercises also. He says, take a deep breath in. And to be honest, I get kind of skeptical of things, but I was in such a bad way. I really closed my eyes and just kind of listened to what he said. And it really helped me. I was kind of shocked by that. But, when you have mental pain and you're not dealing with it in an effective manner, it can be so powerful and so debilitating to you. And I know that, and I understand that. And I think it's important that you recognize that pain. I mean, that pain can cause you to having affairs. That pain can cause you to not be friends with somebody you've been friends with for a long time. That pain can put you on a path of destructive behavior that your family alienate you, your friends alienate you. Um, and it can be horrible. And a lot of times you don't actually realize it, and then you get your body always in such a high state of anxiety or dealing with whatever you're dealing with. It's hard to come down. And when you learn to bring yourself down, sometimes that causes even more anxiety. Or when your pain gets worse or something happens and you injure yourself and you can't do this, you can't do that. So it becomes very hard and very tough. And I understand that, pain can also be from memories of losing a loved one, a battle buddy on the field, somebody, a family relatives that you were close to, a family friend that you were close to that might have died by suicide, or might have, passed away in a car accident or just had some other thing or died on the battlefield. That pain's very real, and those things are very hard to fight through. And, so there's a lot of techniques. And if you watch my podcast for the last year, that I tried to have guests on and people come on the podcast to try and help people who are dealing with that. Right. I didn't know much about life coaches, and Rachel came on. You can go back and watch that episode, which she's a life coach and she actually helps people get through things. You can go see a licensed clinical or social worker. You can text the line that I have on shirt 741-741. And so really what I wanted to do was try to get people to realize, understand the pain that you're going through, and understanding that it's valid, right? So because of mental pain, people don't always think that it's valid, right? But your pain and what you went through and what you're dealing with is valid. So first, know that. Secondly, know that you can learn through a whole bunch of different techniques in dealing with that pain, right? And everybody's different. I posted this on Facebook the other day that, if you don't think you're unique or special, the chances of you being born a human being, right, on Earth, the chances of you being born a human being, you can Google it, is 400 trillion to 1. So if you don't think you're special, you are, right? So let's just get that out right now. But when you're trying to validate your pain or understand your pain, and it may have been something that you had dealt with, or maybe you hadn't dealt with, and now you're in therapy and you're dealing with it, can be very stressful on itself. And that's one thing that I talked about on Mental Health Warrior. And one thing I do for my pain is I work out. And working out doesn't mean you go out and run a marathon or you do this or you do that. I mean, it could be just simple as getting up and going for a walk. When my pain's bothering me or I have a lot of anxiety or something's going on, I try to change my mind or what I'm thinking about at that moment. And so if you have the availability, if something's really bothering you or going on in your life, or you're sitting alone or something, change your environment, change where you're at. I used to sit down and I would drink and watch movies by myself in my theater. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not in a good place, maybe that's not where you should be. Maybe you should get up and go step outside. Maybe you should get up and go into another room. One thing that I've done here that I haven't done in years is I've been playing Christmas music in my house to kind of keep me in the, in the Christmas spirit, because, my suicide attempt was 3 days before Christmas. How fucked up would that have been for my family? If they would have been burying me at Christmas had I completed suicide. So now I view that day as my live day. I was lucky enough to survive, and I probably shouldn't have. And so I just want to really, I was really kind of stressful about talking about this and going into things that are personal to me and kind of what I deal with and everything. But I think it's important because I've read too many people that have completed suicide, and you read into their story and you're thinking, man, if somebody would have just let them know that their pain is valid, or let them know that you maybe not understand what they're going through, but at least you can validate what they're going through. I think for a lot of people who have a lot of issues and problems, sometimes it's just knowing that what you have is normal. It's not, you're not abnormal, you're not different. It's just how it is. It's how the universe works. And we all deal with things differently. And we all deal with things, in a different manner. And a good point is, if you follow me on Facebook at Clifford Bauman at the Veteran Trash Talk, you guys know that I post a lot of funny memes, and a lot of them is mental health related, but some of them aren't. But it's funny because you can put one meme out there and you think it has a meaning that's funny or something else, but then somebody else takes it differently. Right. And so, but that's what makes Veterans Trash Talk great. That's what makes Real Talk Thursday great, because I'm going to come out here and talk about things that I think is important that I didn't talk about. And, I think talking about mental pain and the effects that mental pain can have on you personally is something that I really wanted to kick off season 2 about and talk about. And that's why I talked about it today. But I just want to say that, I'm appreciative of the support the last year. I'm looking forward to Real Talk Thursdays. I think it's going to be a great season. Next week, Trigger Joe's going to be on my show. If you remember him, he does the sports betting and other shows on Veterans Trash Talk. So he's going to come on a show. We're going to have a really candid talk, not only about my suicide attempt, because it will be on that day on the 22nd, but we're going to talk about some other issues and things. And so it's going to be a great show. And then a week after that, I got Linda Diaz on, and a good friend of hers, Miguel. And that's going to be a great show. They both have really great stories to tell. And so I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to say, please go out and enjoy the holiday season. Try to enjoy your family. And just please know that if you're dealing with mental pain, or you're dealing with something, that we understand that here at Veterans Trash Talk. That's why that Veterans Trash Talk was started, so you can get out and exercise your demons. I post a funny meme out there that, sometimes, I argue with my demons, and sometimes I drink with them, and that's okay too. My nightmare at sometimes is my pain and what I deal with, both my physical pain and my mental pain. But it's important to learn how to deal with those in a positive manner. So I would please employ that if you are that person, you're listening here and now, just know that you're important to somebody, and they love you, and they want you here tomorrow. And, it's okay with what you're feeling. And if you don't think that people understand or validate what you're going through, I'm going to validate for you right now. I understand that because I've been through that. And so just know that Cliff Bauman, the mental health warrior, on December 15th on 2022 validated that, yes, your pain that you're feeling mentally is valid, and we understand it. Everybody at Veterans Trash Talk and in the group that it involves with Gruntworks and others, we understand that because we've all been through that. So you're not alone. So don't think you need to be alone. We all have stories, and our stories is our story. And the more we talk about mental health, and the more we talk about pain, the more we talk about suicide, the more we talk about other things going on, not only in the veteran community, but in society in whole, it's going to make us all better. And so with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please tune in next Thursday at 5 p.m. It'll be another live show with Trigger Joe and myself will be on for another episode of Real Talk Thursday. You guys have a great evening, and thanks for tuning in.